morning, everybody. I know I haven't been here in a little while. We had a lot of things happen. For those of you watching, so we moved to the new office. We are now at 42 Broadway. Nice, big, beautiful office. It took us a while to settle in, move everything around. We had a few staffing changes. We welcomed a new attorney aboard. We welcomed two new paralegals aboard. So things are progressing very, very nicely. Now, I know Wendy spoke with you last week about the new policy for citizenships. And I actually have some updates about that because this seems to be the area with the most progress. So let's start as a follow-up on what happened with the policy that USCIS released last week. This week, we have already gotten one USCIS receipt notice for Filed N400, which is a citizenship application that actually extended the validity of the person's green card. The reason it did that is because the person filed for citizenship with still a valid green card within the prescribed time. So that means while the citizenship is pending, the person does not have to submit a separate application to extend the green card. That's one thing. Another thing is this week we received an interview notice for a client of ours for a citizenship interview. That was the fastest I've seen, I think, in like 8 years. We filed it in November, and the person has an interview in January, which is insanely fast. Another big development is that if you had properly filed an application to remove conditions of residence while still married to your U.S. citizen spouse, and then you timely filed an application for citizenship while still married to a U.S. citizen spouse, what happens is that the application for citizenship drags the application for removal of conditions of residence and makes the process go faster. We have had half a dozen of these jointly filed applications get processed within 6 months instead of 18, 24 months, because the citizenship kind of expedited the processing of the removal of conditions. What happens is that when you get a interview notice for the citizenship in those circumstances, we prepare you for a dual interview, for an interview for removal of conditions together with an interview for citizenship. However, in 9 out of 10 cases, what happens is when your spouse appears at the interview and the documents are properly submitted, meaning what needs to be submitted has been submitted, the officer waives the interview for 751, grants you the 10-year green card, and on the same day interviews you for citizenship. And a lot of times they indicate whether they will recommend this for approval. So that has been very, very successful for us, and I'm very happy about that. Another great development is that we have had an escalating amount of green cards that are being granted without interviews. Now, just to be clear, these are on a simpler side green cards, meaning there's no criminal history, meaning that there are no complicated previous relationships, and there's no suspicions of fraud or anything that USCIS needs to investigate. These are properly filed applications for green card of spouses of U.S. citizens. What happens is we start going in the regular route. We get receipt notices, then we get biometrics notices, then we get work authorizations, travel documents, and usually what follows is an interview notice. But in a lot of the cases, we've been seeing just requests for medical exams. And once we submit those medical exams, USCIS approves the application and sends to us the green card, which would then notify you and you pick it up directly from us. This is amazing. Of course, This means that the attorney has prepared and submitted all the required evidence that satisfied USCIS that the marriage is real, is valid, and there are no issues that need investigation or further looking into, or no reason for them to bring you to the interview, essentially for you to reiterate what has already been submitted. So a lot of our clients are very, very happy about that, and we are as well, of course. So we have been shelling out those requests for medicals and sending them out, and usually within 60 days of us sending it out, we get a green card back. So these are the good, positive processing times. Another thing is that USCIS continues to schedule citizenship interviews and joint 751 citizenship interviews on Saturdays. So over the last year, we had about a dozen Saturday interviews. I know they're inconvenient. Sometimes they're very early. And believe me, our attorneys are not happy about Saturday interviews. But it does show an effort on behalf of USCIS to really step it up and start processing these cases. Another positive development is that we've been getting a lot of consular interviews, which means USCIS, when they send the case to National Visa Center, and once the National Visa Center reviews all the documents and releases the case to the embassy for scheduling of the interview, what has been happening is that there's been a big delay because a lot of cases did not get interviewed in 2020, 2021. So they still have to catch up. Remember, embassies were closed the longest and were affected the hardest by the pandemic, right? Even when the courts in United States and USCIS in United States has been open and we're able to kind of like start getting back to normal, a lot of embassies around the world were still closed or interviewed at a very limited capacity, or they would open and there would be an outbreak, and they would close down and then the interviews would get rescheduled. So I know it seems like COVID is a thing of the past, but unfortunately, for the next couple of years, we're still going to have to deal with the consequences of the pandemic. I will see you all next Thursday. I'm going to get back to the regular scheduled programming and hope to see you every Thursday going forward. Have a great day.